Here are 4 key ways to promote science, technology, engineering, and mathematics while visiting SpaceX. We need to begin by defining a rocket. A rocket is a type of engine for space travel or a vehicle that uses that type of engine. On May 26, 2021, the 100th successful Falcon 9 launch occurred. This is a significant event as SpaceX relies heavily on the ability to launch rockets more than once. Our science connection, we turn to Sir Isaac Newton, who introduced the 3 laws of motion in 1687. We will focus on the launch as it relates to Newton's law of motion. It is important to keep in mind that these 3 laws are related to each other, and they are each about motion or movement. The first law of motion is sometimes known as the law of inertia. An object will not change its motion unless an outside force acts on it. Think about your bike in the garage. It is at rest and it won't move unless you move it. On the other hand, if you are riding your bike, it won't stop unless you stop it by using your brakes or your feet or some other force. Consider the rocket on the launch pad. It is at rest. A force needs to act on it in order for it to move, much less launch. Notice in the first law, we use the word force. In the second law, we actually get a precise definition of force, a simple math formula at that. The force of an object is equal to its mass times its acceleration. Mass is the amount of matter in an object. Acceleration is when velocity changes, and velocity is speed and direction. If you try to throw a ball with more mass, then you may not find it as easy as it is to throw a ball with less mass. A slow-pitch softball is about the same size of a regular baseball, but a slow-pitch softball has a greater mass. Thus, you need more force to throw a slow-pitch softball than you do a baseball. By the way, we are talking about mass, not weight. Note that these are different due to gravity. Let's look at the second law relative to the rocket launch. The more mass a rocket has, the more force, fuel or propellant in this case, is needed to have the rocket accelerate. Falcon 9 has a mass of 549,054 kilograms. This is not counting anything that it is carrying, usually called payload. The rocket also has to carry its fuel, which obviously decreases throughout the journey. You can see how all of these variables need to be considered to yield a successful launch. Now let's look at Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. This means there is a lot of pushing going on, and it happens in pairs. If you push on an object, that object pushes back against you with equal magnitude or size, but in the opposite direction. A nice example is when someone jumps off a diving board. You can see the board go down before it goes up. Now let's discuss how Newton's third law is used in launching rockets. A rocket burns propellants, a mixture of fuel and an oxidizer, which is a source of oxygen, and pushes out exhaust. That creates an upward force called thrust. To launch, the rocket needs enough propellant so that the thrust pushing the rocket up, also called propulsion, is greater than the force of gravity pulling the rocket down. By the way, there's another interesting note here. There is no oxygen where the rocket is headed, hence the need for an oxidizer. Also note the fuel for a Falcon 9 SpaceX costs around $200,000 per launch. Be sure to visit the SpaceX site to view a launch and compare that to the 3 laws of motion. Now let's turn to technology. Technology has provided many virtual simulators. A simulator is a setting or a mechanism that mimics a real-life situation, a copycat. Simulators are especially used for training and experimentation. Many amusement park rides simulate real-life situations. Consider bumper cars as an example. On the SpaceX website, there is a Dragon docking simulator. This simulator allows you to replicate the process of docking SpaceX Dragon 2 to the International Space Station, ISS. Notice that there are parameters given in the instructions. You need to keep in mind that the process is utilizing a 2D approach to a 3D maneuver. In 2D, you have an x-axis and a y-axis. In 3D, you have an x-axis, y-axis, and a z-axis. There are terms used to address navigation in space: pitch, roll, and yaw. In a spaceship, you have the axis that goes from the back to the front. Rotating about this axis is called a roll. Rotating the axis that goes from side to side is called pitch, and rotation about the vertical axis is called yaw. Next, engineering. To engage in engineering, we utilize an engineering design process. Typically, there are 5 to 7 steps, with developing a blueprint as a key step. A blueprint, 2D, is a design plan developed before a prototype or a preliminary version in 3D is created. Rockets usually have at least 4 parts: a nose cone, fins, body, and engine. Take a look at the picture and see what parts you can identify externally. Now we turn to mathematics. Notice that when a rocket is at rest, the nose of the rocket is facing straight up to the sky. The rocket is perpendicular to the ground. That means the rocket and the ground make a right angle. When the rocket is launched, it moves straight up in a vertical fashion. The path that the rocket takes is called its trajectory. There are some key vocabulary to help you describe the trajectory. We've already seen perpendicular angles. You should also think about parallel lines and obtuse angles, acute angles, the angle of elevation, the angle of depression, and continuous and discontinuity. On the drive over to SpaceX, be sure to visit the landmarks along the way. The Battle of Palmito occurred in that area. This battle is considered the last battle of the Civil War, although the war was declared over when it occurred. Mexican Americans, Native Americans, and African Americans fought in this battle. You should also note that in the port of Brownsville, the USS Stephen W. Groves is the 6th U.S. Navy ship to be recycled. Others include the USS Forrestal, the USS Saratoga, and the USS Constellation. The first European settlement in Cameron County occurred in Rancho Viejo, and the Texas Vietnam Veterans Memorial Highway begins in Brownsville. Now, special thanks to Sienna Mireles, Noah Mireles, Jonah Mireles, Jaime Mireles, and Dr. Fernando Vasquez for all their assistance and support. Finally, worksheets are available on the website allstareducation.site. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, and like this video. Thank you.